Hey everybody, it's your favorite virgin loser here, and it's time for the very first episode of I Can't Believe You've Done This. So in this series, I'm going to be doing, I guess you could say, a critical analysis of certain things. It's a little bit on the ranty side, and it's kind of a critical analysis, but at the same time, I'm going to use a lot of general statements, not too many specifics. I'm going to give some specific examples just to make points, but at the same time, I don't want to spend hours and hours rewatching or replaying something so I can find like every single thing wrong with it, because that would take way too long. So we're just gonna jump right into it. Steins Gate 0. Now before you like or dislike this video, you need to understand how big of a fan I am of the original Steins Gate. Alright? I bought the anime on Blu-ray like 5 times and gave various copies out to lots of friends, and all of them like it. Not a single person got back to me and was like, yeah, I didn't like that show at all. All of them like it. So I also got the visual novel. Not only that, I also bought the visual novel multiple times. I even have right here the JAST version, which is like probably the better-ish version. I don't know. Let's not get into that. So, the original anime is one of only 2 shows I've ever seen I would give the legendary 10 out of 10 rating to. That's how good it is, right? So when I heard that they were going to make a midquel, I guess that's what it's called, because it takes place kind of in the middle. When they said they were going to make a midquel, I was just like really cautiously optimistic. And here it is, Steins Gate 0, the visual novel. And it turned out surprisingly really good. It had a few plot holes, it had a few, you know, little things that needed some more explanation, but overall it turned out really solid. So, then they announced they were going to come out with an anime based on Steins Gate 0. And again, I was cautiously optimistic because they were working on it with White Fox, which did the first adaptation. So I was like, okay, they did this almost perfectly before. They can probably do it again. But, oh boy, was I right to be very cautious, because did the anime adaptation come out well at all? Steins Gate 0 is one of the most incoherent messes I've ever seen. Let's just put the visual novel to the side for a second. Would it make more sense if you didn't read the visual novel? No. Would it make more sense if you did read the visual novel? Not really either. It just kind of doesn't make any sense. There are so many plot holes, so many things that aren't explained at all, things that are explained poorly. There are filler episodes that have nothing to do with the original source material, and they don't really add to the story very much. They're supposed to be for, I guess, character development, but we already know these characters pretty well. So like, what's the point? I've seen a lot of people say, oh, well, they couldn't have fit the whole visual novel's story into 23 episodes. Well, it's shorter than the original, and they fit all that into 24 episodes, so logically they should be able to fit it into 23, which they probably could have if they didn't have all this filler and extra stuff. And really, that's one of the biggest problems with Steins Gate 0. They follow the source material half the time, and the other half of the time they follow it sort of. And by sort of, I mean they take like these various elements from like all these different routes, because there's, you know, so many different endings and different routes you take. They take all these different elements and they just kind of like smash it together into like one thing, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And then there are things that are just like ridiculously nonsensical. I can think of one really big example, and that's where, spoilers I guess, there's some spoilers in this video. There's a point where Kurisu sends a D-mail without turning on the phone wave. Time travel without turning on the time machine. Because that makes sense, right? And what angers me so much is this was supposed to be like this big, like, emotional moment. It was supposed to be like really sad, like, oh, she's gonna change the world line and like basically kill herself again. And she was like reaching to send the D-mail, and I'm like, you didn't turn on the phone wave. You didn't turn on the phone wave. She just sends it and it just changes the world line. The phone wave wasn't on. What is happening?
Drop it.
Okay, another point I want to make is all the dropped subplots. There are so many dropped subplots. They'll be like, hey, what's this? Hey, what's this? Oh, forget about it. Forget about it. It's just not important. Even though it is. I actually have two pretty good examples of this. One of which is Yuki being sort of like a double agent or whatever. It's unclear exactly where they were going with this. I don't know if she was supposed to be brainwashed or actually a double agent, or actually someone else who got plastic surgery to look like Yuki, because they're just kind of taking elements from all over the place and just mashing them together. But either way, they keep hinting, you know, she's a double agent, she's a double agent, she's definitely a double agent, she's been doing sketchy things, and we're never going to mention it ever again. Just never mention it, never bring it up, it never goes anywhere. Unlike the visual novel where they usually explain like pretty much everything. I don't know how you could hint so hard at something and then just drop it like a rock. Not only did they hint at it, but it's an actual subplot in Steins Gate Zero, the visual novel. So it's not like they came up with this thing for the anime and then just dropped it because they were like, it has nothing to do with the source material, we'll just drop it. No. They just drop it. Now the second example I have has to do with Fubuki, which is sort of a major, sort of a minor character. Basically, they just kind of forget her after a certain amount of episodes and you just never see her, you never hear about her again. And she had this whole thing going on where she kept going to the hospital because she supposedly had some kind of virus or disease, but actually it was her memories from alternate world lines coming back to her. And this was a huge like subplot. It was very important to the main story. And once again, they just kind of dropped the whole thing. The whole thing. Like, it kind of went somewhere in the visual novel, but in the anime it went nowhere. So, okay, let's say you don't want to read the visual novel, you don't care about it, you don't even want to think about it existing. That does not defend the fact that they keep creating all these subplots and then just like dropping them. They're just like, oh, look at this, this is like an important thing that we're not gonna show you. It's ridiculous. I have no idea what they were thinking. Now apparently, even though this is the same studio, they decided to get a different director. You got a director the first time that did like an almost perfect job, and you decided, oh, let's just get a new guy. Now the last thing I want to talk about doesn't exactly have to do with the show itself, but it has to do with the fandom. Not only that, it has to do with like every fandom, because this is a huge problem I wish would go away, but will probably never. And that's headcanon, and basically forcing headcanon on everyone else, and also saying that your headcanon is canon. And if you don't know what a headcanon is, it's basically what you think happened but didn't actually happen. These people will insult your intelligence because you did not assume the same thing they assumed, or you did not come to the same conclusion, and that's just ridiculous. So every time there's a plot hole, they'll be like, oh, I think maybe this happened and that's why that happened, and therefore it's not a plot hole, and you're stupid for not making up the same thing I did, even though I don't have any evidence for why this plot hole is filled. They didn't hint at it, they didn't imply anything. I just think maybe this possibly happened and that's why this happened, and that's why there's not a plot hole. And you're just stupid because you didn't assume the same thing that I assumed. So if you want to debate with someone, if you want to debate with me and say Steins Gate Zero is great, I ask one important thing of you. If I find a plot hole or an inconsistency of some kind, and you don't have any kind of proof of why I'm wrong, then just get out. You're just wasting everyone's time. Something has to be at least hinted at for your explanation to make sense. And I can understand if maybe I found something wrong with it because I missed some dialogue somewhere. Maybe I didn't read some of the subtitles correctly. So please, do not insult my intelligence because I did not come to the same conclusion or the same assumption as you did. Nobody's insulted my intelligence so far. I haven't posted the video, obviously, because I'm still making it. But I've seen a lot of other people be like, hey, I don't like Steins Gate Zero because it's really incoherent. And they're just like, you're stupid. Like, don't do that. Because it makes you sound like an idiot. Back when I used to go to public school, every time I said something even remotely smart, people would just make fun of me and say I was stupid. I would be like, yeah, to the power of 2 is squared, and they'd be like, yeah, the teacher taught us that, and I'm like, well, to the power of 3 means it's cubed, and they're like, that's dumb, you're stupid, that doesn't make any sense. But like, that's what people say, like something to the power of 3, it's cubed. Like, people use that term, and they're just like, no, you're just actually stupid. So in conclusion, the original Steins Gate is great, both in terms of the visual novel and the anime adaptation. The Steins Gate Zero visual novel was also very good. If you're gonna get into Steins Gate, please read or watch the original and then make sure you read the Zero visual novel first before you see the anime, because if you see the anime first, it's going to confuse you so much. Nothing will make sense because, well, even by itself it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I guess that's video over. I made a few points. Again, I didn't want to go over every single thing I thought was wrong because that would have taken way too long. But yeah, if you actually enjoyed Steins Gate Zero, you know, you can tell me. Just don't act like a child, okay? So that's it. I'll see you in the next episode, I guess. I might do a video on Xenoblade 2 and why it's the least good one of the series, and I kind of hate it. Kind of like Steins Gate Zero. Except I might hate Xenoblade 2 more. I'm not sure. We'll get into that next time. Also, if you still don't think I'm a massive fan of Steins Gate, I have a Kurisu body pillow. Actually, I have 2. So, if you still think I'm a hater, you're just so wrong right now. You're just so wrong.